Hey, this is Lieutenant Bella Lexi, and you are listening to Tanya Tate Presents Skinfluencer Success Podcast.
This is Tanya Tate, Skinfluencer Success.
You are listening to Tanya Tate Presents Skinfluencer Success. How can sharing private sex tapes with your partner be made into a thriving career? My guest is a former Colorado police lieutenant. And on August the 25th, 2021, she woke up just like any other day to read her police emails. An official complaint had been made about her. A colleague had reported her for having an OnlyFans account. She went from that terrifying day of having her entire world on full display to now having an OnlyFans account with an income that pays even higher than her police salary. She is an OnlyFans sensation and an adult film star content creator. Welcome, Lieutenant Bella Lexi, to the Skinfluencer Success Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Tanya.
Hi, it's so nice to have you on. I'm like, I like it. We met on Twitter. So, sometimes I put the call out and I'm like, who shall I have on as a guest? And Lieutenant Bella Lexi is like, me, I've got a very interesting story.
Pick me.
I like it because I was like, okay, tell me your story. And like immediately you give me a lot of information and I'm like, I like this. This is something definitely that I think our listeners, our viewers will want to hear about. So I just want you to introduce yourself. Who is Lieutenant Bella Lexi and what made you start your very own OnlyFans account in the beginning?
So it was really kind of interesting. It all started around COVID, which I think a lot of people kind of got into that around COVID. And it was just more or less for my husband and I to have some fun. We had videos, we had photos, because that's always been a part of our natural relationship and sex life. And so we had seen something on the news about OnlyFans, and my husband's like, hey, maybe we should put something up there and just see. And I was like, okay, whatever. I was busy running a jail. So I was like, I really have my hands full with this. So sure, let's give it a try, right? So he ran the page for, gosh, it was over a year. He'd be like, hey, can you take these pictures? Can we make this video? I was like, sure. But really, I didn't have a lot of involvement in the page. And then a former friend of mine had somehow found out about it and then made the complaint. So, but it was just for kinky fun for us. I didn't expect to have anyone follow the page. I just was like, oh, that's for like all the famous people, right? And so I didn't think it was going to go anywhere.
Yeah. And was it, when you first started off, was it solo, just you, or was it because you'd already been making pictures and videos with your husband? Was it like personal sex tapes with both of you?
Yes, it was both.
Yeah.
Primarily, it was photos of me and then videos of him and I, and then it kind of expanded into solo videos and things like that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So then this friend, was it a he or a she? The
she,
friend?
a female friend.
So at some point, did you like say to her, hey, like, I've got this secret, I've got this OnlyFans account? Or did she actually find out somehow?
No, I never shared it with anyone. It was to be a big secret, right?
Yeah.
And so somehow she had found out about it, never spoke with me directly about it, just went directly to my employer. Yeah.
That's really interesting because if you've not told anybody and it's like you and your husband's little secret, how the hell does someone come on and just stumble across an OnlyFans page?
Right. I know. It's like so random. Well, and that was the thing. And so, I mean, I have my speculation on how it may have been discovered by her. I got a copy of the investigation and she had a couple of different reasons that didn't really make any sense on how she found out. Obviously, I don't have any way to prove how she did or didn't find out about it, but I'm assuming her husband may have found it, would be my guess. Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it? Like, if you're a female and you don't log on to OnlyFans, let's be honest, OnlyFans is predominantly a male environment. As a fan, we do have
Absolutely.
female fans, but it's predominantly male. So imagine
Yes.
if that's you and your husband's like, oh look, there's your mate at work. She's banging her husband. And, I think there's sometimes there could be jealousy, there could be feeling inferior,
Mhm.
and looking and thinking, well, if they've got something that I haven't got, it can, different feelings, like lower feelings, can make people do things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I mean, honestly, looking back now, I just wish she would have had a conversation with me. Um, but that isn't how it went. And it wasn't in my cards for it to go that way. And so then after she made the complaint and they started the investigation, someone in my work ended up leaking it to the media.
I want to go back to that day. Like, so there's your friend, soon to be ex-friend, and you wake up that morning and there you are checking your police emails, and there's like the official complaint, and it's sitting in your inbox to read. What was that day like?
It was intense. Like, so as a lieutenant, you get notice of complaints about other employees and whatever. So I opened it fully expecting it to be on one of my other employees. And then I'm reading it and I'm like, this is about me. This is about my OnlyFans. Oh my God. Like your heart is in your throat and you can hear your heart beating in your head and your palms start to sweat and you just are like, oh my God, what the heck? This was never supposed to be anything. I never even identified myself as a cop. What is going on? You start
Hmm.
to think about all the worst case scenario of it all. And I
Yeah,
was like, am I going to lose my job? Like, over some stupid nudies on the internet? Like,
yeah.
I, I really didn't know how to react. So I hand the phone to my husband and he's like, oh, okay. Like, and you don't know how to respond.
Hmm.
You don't. And so, um, yeah, I went into work and I was like, okay. And you're waiting for the phone call on your desk phone to come to internal affairs. You don't know how it's going to all unfold. I didn't say anything to anyone because I was like, no one knew,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I ended up getting called in and I had already had an attorney for some other things. And I didn't end up doing an interview with them. We ended up coming to a settlement agreement. So I was paid $30,000 when I retired.
Nice. It's
Yeah.
I'm saying nice because I can see the position where you're in right now. And
Mhm.
looking back, for me, I think that seems nice, but at the time, that
Oh, at the
would have
time, I'm
felt
like
like,
$30,000. That's not gonna pay my bills for a year,
yeah,
you know? But I was like, well, it's something to keep me afloat until I can find a job. But when your face and your name go international, it's really hard to find a regular job.
yeah. So you say someone leaked. So you're going through the investigation, you're coming to a settlement, you're coming to an agreement, you're
Mhm.
doing your retirement, and then somebody at some point leaked it to the press.
Correct, to the local media here in Colorado. So we got a phone call from Rob Lowe, who did the story, and he's like, hey, what do you know? Because he knew I worked there. He goes, hey, what do you know about some deputy who had an OnlyFans page and is under investigation? And I was like, it's not a story. And he's like, well, I want to talk to this person. What do you know? And I go, that person's me, and it's not a story.
Yeah,
And he's like, it's you? I'm like, yes,
you
it's
wasn't
me.
expecting it.
No. And so he's like, well, I'm gonna have to talk to my news director, whatever. And I was like, well, please try to like make it go away because it's not a story and I don't want my kids to know about this. He calls back and he's like, okay, so we have a couple of options. My news director says this is a story. You can release a statement to us. You can go on camera and do an interview, or you can do nothing, but we're still pursuing the story. So I
Mm,
contact my attorney, talk with my husband. He's like, let's just do the on camera interview. So we did the interview and we had a bunch of forest fires and everything in the state of Colorado. So it just like kind of went away. And I was like, well, maybe it's never going to come up. And then it was a couple months later and he goes, hey, the story's going to air on Monday on the 9 o'clock news. And I'm like, okay.
yeah.
So in the meantime, He had told us that like the Thursday before. And then that weekend, I got a phone call in the middle of the night from the UK. And I'm like, who is calling me from the UK in the middle of the night? Well, I think because it hadn't aired in Denver, someone leaked it to the UK media who called me and wanted to do an interview. And they ended up scooping the local news. They released the story at 5 a.m. that morning, and then my story aired locally at 9, but it had already gone global.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah. After they released that story, it was in the Daily Mail
Mm-hmm.
at 5 in the morning. They released it. And well, by the time The View aired that morning, which is like at 9 or 10, that's how my aunties found out about it. They were talking about me
Wow.
on The View. My other family found out about it on Fox News and any other Facebook link, you name it. They were all finding out about it.
So this is a massive thing to deal with. It's like you thought it was going to be a secret. The secret got out. You basically lost your job. And
Mhm.
then, the local news, well, if you don't talk to us, we're going to run it anyway. So, you decided, well, let's get your voice out there. So at least it's partly your story.
Yes.
But then to like the world media now getting the story, and it's like, okay, we're going to put it out there, and they're talking to you on all these, like, so many places.
Yeah.
And like, how how did you deal with that, like physically, emotionally, like the fallout? Like you say your aunties were watching it, like talk me through that.
Initially when they started the investigation and we went through the settlement agreement and everything, it was really stressful. So I was at massive mental health crisis. Like all I ever wanted to do as a kid was be a cop. And suddenly I'm staring down that disappearing. And so, um, and a big part of my role as a cop was dealing with people with mental health issues and peer support for cops who are struggling. So it's like hard to take your own advice, dial up a counselor. I'm like, I need some help. I need somebody to
Mm.
talk to because I'm sitting at home on FMLA for the mental health issues surrounding it. And I was like, then it brings up everything else, right? So all of the calls from the job, the trauma from the job, you name it. And I'm sitting at home and I was like, I can't do this. Like I don't know what to do. So went to some super intensive therapy. And of course, it's during COVID still. So it all has to be via Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of tears, a lot of fears, a lot of all that, And before it got leaked to the media, I was like, okay, I'm just going to walk away quietly and I'll just deal with this on my own. I'll get well and I'll figure something out. Well, obviously, the plans changed. And so I kind of use that as something that I want women to know is that it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay to have all those feelings. Just find a way to explore them and work through them. You don't
Mhm.
have to sit in silence and try to figure it out on your own. Because I could have never done it without my therapist.
Yeah. It's, we all go through different traumas of different varying levels, and some of us can deal with higher traumas compared to others. And
Mhm,
for me, I think, oh, I've got this. But sometimes it's like, no, you've got to get it out. You got to release it to be able to like move on.
mhm.
And
And to be well.
yeah,
We all want to be well.
it's like getting up every day, and I always think, what are we here for? We're here for the joy. We're here for learning. We're here for happiness. Like, who wants to
Mhm.
get up and be miserable every day? It's
Right, exactly. Not me.
yeah. And if there are steps that you can take yourself, and some people will probably be like, oh, talking to somebody, getting like a therapist, for some people that feels like a fail. But
Mhm,
it's not. It's a step of taking that recognition that I need help. I need some help, and can someone help me? And taking the steps to like recognize that you've got the problem, and then with the help of somebody else, getting yourself
mhm.
well. And
Yeah.
I think that's an amazing accomplishment.
Well, and
That's
it's so crazy because I go from being the helper, right? I'm helping solve everybody's problems to now I have to ask for help. And that was a big pride bust.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that I worked through it, because then I think that that makes me better at doing what I do now. I have my confidence back.
Yeah.
I have an avenue to help people. So I just changed the focus and direction of who and what I'm doing to help people. So,
So I love it. It's like when we both have an OnlyFans account and we are helping people. We are
oh,
every
every day.
single day. Yeah, people
Yes.
log in, are fans. They log in and they get to talk to us. And you must have similar fans where they come in and they're talking to us about the day. They're talking to us about issues, as well as a lot of them. The majority of them want the naughty interaction, but
Yes.
you do have some of them that come in that just want to be basically like your friend.
Yeah,
And you are sometimes like a therapist in a way to some
absolutely.
of our fans that come in. So you went from not having a job to having a small amount of money relatively compared to like, needing to pay your bills for a year. So at what point did you sit down with your husband and like really make the decision that, you mentioned you was all over the press now. You're like, how am I going to get another job? So at what point did you decide that OnlyFans was going to be something that you were going to move forward with?
I think when the story broke in the media, and then in a matter of 4 days, my page just exploded. And we were sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, "Oh, I can't respond to 1,200 messages. Like, how am I ever going to get through all of this?" And so I was like, you know what? We need to sit down and come up with a plan. So we scheduled a Monday morning meeting. I'm like, we need to sit down and we need to make this official. And so we sat down and we came up with, how do we want to build my brand? Because obviously now I'm a thing.
Yeah.
And how do we want to build that? How do we want to make that look? And how do we make sure that we control what that looks like? And so we
Mm.
sat down, we brainstormed it. It took us almost 3 weeks to respond to all the messages, but I responded to everyone
Mm.
personally. Um, and so because I'm like, well, this is my job now, I
Yeah.
guess. And it doesn't feel like work. And that's what I think I like the most about it is I get to talk to all these cool people all around the country, and they trust me. They're like, I saw your story. I feel like I can relate to you. Like, so yes, I even hate to say it because I don't look at myself this way, but to be like famous, but people have that bond because I was so basic, and so I think it just has been um, really great. I hear people's darkest secrets that they can't
Mm.
tell anyone else, but they're like, after everything that happened to you, I know you would never tell anyone.
Mm.
I'm like, well, I would never tell anyone anyway,
Yeah.
but yes, I'm glad you have a place that you can go that's safe to talk about whatever. And I've had people who've been suicidal who've reached out to me. I'm like, let me connect you to some resources, right?
Mm.
Because I can't just ignore that, right? And so I've worked now with a bunch of different organizations and stuff. So I have resources that I can give to people who reach out. And, at least they're reaching out, whether it's to me or to law enforcement or to anyone else, any other person that I come in contact with. I'm glad that opportunity is there and people are listening.
Yeah. And just because we have got a platform now and people, your fans, my fans will be listening. And if people are feeling suicidal, like give some places where they can go just because I want to get that information out there.
Oh, you're going to grab me impulsively and I don't have my laptop, but let me look. I know I came in with my phone.
She's like, I wasn't prepared for that question. You
I
know
wasn't
what?
because I have like this whole list on my laptop of
That's
people I can
okay. That's
message.
okay. What they can do if you are trying to get some of the resources, you can reach
Mhm.
out to Lieutenant Bella Lexi, and we'll give like all your links at the end. You can say all your links so they can reach your. And what's your main site, your main hub site that you have?
TheRealBellaLexi.com.
Perfect. So if they go
Yes.
to the realbellalexi.com, everything will be on there how they
Mhm.
can reach you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then, like I said, I mean, a lot of it is sometimes I don't know people in every state, but Google is an amazing thing. But
Yeah.
when you're not feeling well, you can't look. Your
Yeah.
brain is like, I'm not well, I'm not in a good place. And you get into this hamster wheel of, I need help, but I don't know how to help myself. And you can't do that. So reaching out to someone, to me, simply saying, hey, call this crisis line. Here's a number. What state are you in? Tell me how it went afterwards. I do a follow up. Hey, I just want to check in and make sure you connected. Um, so because you're not alone, but when you feel like you're at your worst, you do
Mhm.
feel that way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think this is amazing that you are helping others. And you said that you always wanted to be a police officer. You always wanted to help people. And who you are helping had to change, you know?
yeah.
So,
Mhm.
you mentioned that you are developing a non-profit. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so I'm really excited about this, and it's still kind of in its initial phases, while I finish my book, but basically what I wanna do is have, like you called it, a hub, a place to go where sex workers, because that's the community I wanna serve, is underserviced sex workers, because it is a lonely, isolating, profession at times. And they don't necessarily always have a lot of money. I
Mm,
experienced that when I first started in this. I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And so you don't necessarily have the finances available.
mm,
So what I want to do is I have a board of directors where people will be able to write in, say, hey, I need help with this or whatever, so that I can help put them in contact with people for low or no cost counseling services, um, and other things that sex workers might need, financial advice, tax advice, all of those kinds of things. So if you're in a position where you have a problem and you can't afford to help yourself get out of it, I can connect to those resources and make that available.
that's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. It's like you've got something and you're here and you're able to give back to people.
hmm
And
And that was my big fear. I was like, what am I going to do? Because, when you're a giver and all of a sudden I'm like, well, kind of now I'm a taker, but I'm giving because I'm making videos. It's like this very conflicting change for sure.
yeah, yeah, it is. It is, isn't it? It's like it's difficult for us, sometimes you go on your page and you get people that are going to spoil us, and you get people that are never going to spend any money, and
hmm
it's difficult sometimes to get the right balance. And I think it's nice to try and give back to everyone,
hmm
but some of them, the ones that give more to you, you will always give more back to them.
hmm
But it's
I
nice
think
to
that's
step.
just human nature,
Yeah, I think when you step away from that and to serve other people as well, it's
Mhm.
amazing. And it makes my heart big that there are people in the world like you, Bella. Like, yes.
Well, thank you. I'm trying, and I think that sex workers get such a bad rap. And it's crazy because cops got a bad rap too. So I went from being a cop who, there's been a lot of issues, whatever, and I don't want to get into all of that, but we all know it's a thing. And
Mm,
now I'm on the sex worker side, and it's still equally judged, and it's so mind-boggling to me. Um, how it's a multi-billion dollar business that, a lot of people indulge in is this dirty secret across society, yet everyone is doing it. I
yeah.
I don't know.
And I think sometimes the people that shout the loudest against it are the ones that are doing it all the more.
Oh, that's probably all my former employees who message me and call me all the time asking for free stuff.
Hey, you're like, oh, get on your OnlyFans and pay for it yourself. You
Well, and
cheeky.
that's what I say. I'm like, come on now. You all know this is my career. In fact, I just had one last week. He hadn't worked for me. It's probably been 4 or 5 years since he worked for me, and he texted me and reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I saw a commercial for you or something on some porn website." I was like, "Oh, you did? Well, tell me more about it." And he's like, "Well, I was your favorite, so if you want to just send me some free videos sometime, I wouldn't be upset." And I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Oh my
No
goodness.
free 99 videos. Nice try.
No, I'm funny sometimes. I'm not going to say the name, but I'm from Liverpool and I used to work in a pub, a bar, quite a popular bar in Liverpool city centre. And a lot of the footballers were coming, soccer
Mhm.
players,
Yeah.
Premier League teams. And I knew a lot of them and I still know some of them now. I think occasionally you get one. Oh, can you send me a picture? I'm like, oh, for God's sake. I'm just like, just go to me Twitter or just go on my OnlyFans or oh,
Mhm.
I'm thinking they don't want their phone to show where they've been.
Exactly. They don't want to
So
have to pay with
they
their
want to,
credit card, and then their wife knows.
yeah, yeah. So I'm just like, ugh. And then sometimes I just say, okay, send me a picture of you now, and I'll send you one back of me. Just because I'm just nosy because I want to
Yeah.
I wanted to see. And they sent me a picture and I'm because he was like, oh, I've got a guy who's a big fan. I'm like, he takes the picture and there's three fellas in the picture. I'm like, so which one's the big fan? And he went, that one, but the other one is another football player. And I was like, bloody hell, I didn't recognize him. It's been like 20 odd years. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah. But the camera angle. So I'm like, okay, here's a picture for you. And I just pulled whatever was on my phone that I just
Mhm.
sent out and I thought, well, they'll all be made up in the pub tonight. And didn't
And
send
they're
them
gonna
any
be bragging,
videos.
"Oh, yeah, I know her. I she sent me this personally."
Yeah, sometimes I have one of them. He's like, "Oh, all my mates," and he's like, "They don't think I know you." So I'm like, "Okay." So there I am. Hi, and I say his name, and all your mates, but all your mates are jealous down like part in
Yeah.
Liverpool, and like it just makes the day. So sometimes I do little things like
Oh,
it gives me a
absolutely.
laugh, but I'm just like when they want like the hard stuff, I'm like, "Oh no, you're not getting that." Cheeky.
Right, well, it's like, it's one thing to ask for a picture, it's
Yeah.
another thing to ask for a video, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
So
I'm like, yeah, get on there, you get shout out videos. Okay, so I want to go back. You mentioned a book, and I want to find out like how did you get the offer for the book and tell us a little bit more about it and what's going to be in it.
okay, so, ironically, I had my publisher, Berman Books, actually reached out to me. He had seen my story, had seen some podcast interviews I had done and read some interviews I had done, and he found my email on my website and reached out, and he's like, "Hey, I wanna talk to you about a book." And I was like, "A book? I don't wanna write a book about the whole situation, right?" Like,
Mm,
and so I talked to him and he's like, I feel like you would be a really good fit and I want you to write a relationship and sex advice book." He's like, "Because just your age, your life experience, because I've been through a divorce, I'm remarried, the countless living rooms I stood in over the years, trying to help couples who called the cops for help. No one was going to get arrested, but here's what I see is kind of going on. Maybe this will help you guys. You should probably get a counselor, but here's what I see. You guys are both trying to, talk or whatever, and no one's listening and everyone's talking." And so he's like, "I really think you'd have a really good platform to write this book." And I was like, "You know what? I think you're probably right." So it's going to be a quick read, maybe 120 pages, 10 chapters. It's going to cover a bunch of different things like communication, how to transfer because of COVID, how to transfer from an online communication to meeting in person, and how do you overcome that and things like that, like how to just be better at a relationship, how to handle a partner's trauma that they
mm,
reveal to you after you've been together for a period of time and things like that, because those are all common things that people deal with now. So just
mm,
some tips and tricks and some anecdotes and some funny stories from my career or my personal life or my girlfriends, because I went through the whole online dating thing, and then when they did, they're like, "Oh my god, what do I do?" And I'm like, "Oh, here's how you do this," and I would write this, and just helping people better use their words to, actually meet someone and develop a relationship. So
mm. And
yeah.
that's interesting, for women, but also for our fans as well, because
Mhm.
they do like sometimes they're like, I'm never gonna find a girl. And the first thing I think of, well, with that attitude,
Yeah.
you're never gonna find a girl because whatever you're telling yourself, that's what's going to happen. That's what you're bringing forth in your reality.
Mhm.
That's what you're asking for. So
Yes.
to pick up a book and be like, okay, well, this is understanding the other partner better and understanding,
Mhm.
how things can work and how you can make relationships happen. It's like
Yeah,
taking that first
absolutely.
step.
Hmm. And like, it's a scary world out there dating, and it's a scary world to be involved in relationships, and so this book is not gender specific. It's for males and females, and I'd say the average range is about 25 to 45 or 50. So it's a pretty broad, but relationships are relationships, right?
Yeah.
And if you read a book and you're like, oh, maybe that's where I've been going wrong, it's not something to make you feel bad, but it's to say, hey, this could be something that you should work on, and then give you some tools to do that.
Yeah, I like that. So
Mhm.
so this is going to be out later in the year.
Yes. Like every good author, I'm not on time, but, but life happens, right? I'm a
Yeah.
mom. I run my OnlyFans, which is really a business. I turned it into a business. I have an
Yeah.
LLC. And then just all the other things, coaching new girls, or running kids to practices, making dinners, cleaning the house, like all those things. I still have to do them all. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm a mum as well. It's finding the balance, isn't it? It's like, my little boy, he's out there, like, he joins me on YouTube, he joins me on TikTok. We do TikTok lives together. He's full of energy. He's
Yeah.
5, and
I'm
it's like, when he walks through that door, like the
like,
whole energy in the house changes. But it
oh
is,
yeah.
it's a lot, isn't it? And then you've got to find the balance. Like, now for me, he's at school. Perfect time to do the podcast. But you've got
Mhm.
to, do your balancing in terms of like your OnlyFans and your
Yeah.
interactions and, your live streams. It's finding the right balance between being a mom, like
Mhm.
being there for your kid, and then being there for the fans as well. And it's like
Yeah.
a juggling act.
It is. It is. And the one thing that we promised ourselves was that family would be our first focus through all of this. And that has been our focus. And so sometimes, and I'll just post it. I'll be like, hey, I'm at my kids' softball or baseball tournament all weekend. I'll do the best I can to message you. I'll post pictures if I can. But
Yeah.
family first. And that's what I tell my people, and I tell them that's how it should be in your life too.
Yeah, yeah, no,
So,
that's definitely a
mhm.
good rule. I want to ask you about your monthly column. So Lieutenant Bella's briefings. I like the
Yes.
sound of this. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So another random thing fell into my lap. I met Michael, the owner of ASN Magazine, is who I write for, and I met him in Exotica last July, and he's like, "Hey, I've seen your story." Gave me his business card. He's like, "Please reach out to me." So I did, and we had a chat and whatever, and I was like, "I want to be on your cover," and he's like, okay. So he's like, give me your pitch and whatever. So I gave him my pitch, and I was like, yeah, so January is going to be my 1 year anniversary of the story being leaked. He's like, all right, I will give you my January cover. And I said, I'm looking for other ways to help. I said, I don't know if you need anyone to guest write or do anything, because I'd already been working on the book piece. I was like, so if something comes up, let me know. So Michael's like, you know what? Actually, I think it'd be really cool to have a column where sex workers can write in and ask questions related to their profession and the legal ramifications of things. Is this illegal? Do I have a way to pursue something on this? And I was like, you know what? Okay, I like it. I love it. So December was my first column, and then it is monthly. And I just put on blast on my Twitter or on my socials. I'm like, hey, if you're a sex worker and you have a legal question, I will try to answer it and feature it in my monthly column.
Nice. And I
Yeah.
want to I want to know, like, do you get asked the same question a lot? Is this
I
something that's like the
do.
most asked question?
Can I do anything about people who repost my photos online? Is really the biggest one I get. And it's such a gray area as far as all of that goes. But pretty much if you put it out there, you should anticipate someone's going to steal it and someone's going to use it. The big thing is utilizing takedown services
Mm.
and making sure. So the company I work with, they offer a copyright piece to it that you can get as well. But realistically, it's so hard to keep up
Mm.
with
Yeah.
all of the theft and piracy. And it's funny because, I always felt bad for music artists, like whenever Napster happened and whatever. Well, now it's the same thing, but it's me. It's
Yeah.
my images and my likeness. And so I do what I can to take it down and that kind of thing. But pretty much if you put it out there, there is a possibility that it will be used for evil and not good.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time, every day.
Mm.
I can't tell you how many people every day, you got a fake profile on here, there.
Yes,
And I'm like,
everywhere.
just block it and ignore it. If it's not on my link tree, it's not me. And I have people that listen to this podcast, and then you can leave a voice note, and I replay voice notes. And
Mm.
I the amount of people that contact me and leave a voice note to say I've been scammed by someone
Yeah.
using your images. And I had a phone call the other week with a police officer in Canada, and he's like, I'm just tying up, you know loose strings, or I think we've tracked them down to Africa. I'm like, the guy's not
Wow.
going to get his money back, is he? He went, no.
It
Poor
sucks,
poor
and it's
guy.
it's so unfortunate because people
Mm.
genuinely want to help or whatever, and it just sucks when I get a message and they're like, "Oh, this page, and or how come you never provided this for me? You said you were gonna send me this." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, where did I say this?" Because I know who I'm talking to, and and then I come to find out it happened on any platform, whether it's social media or streaming
WhatsApp and
platforms. Yes,
on your
everything is.
personal style and private
Yeah, and I feel so
Facebook.
bad.
It's not
Mhm.
me.
Everything, nothing is safe.
No, it's not. Oh my goodness. Um,
Yeah.
so you mentioned that you do coaching for women and couples on how to start an OnlyFans account.
Mhm.
So
I do.
it can you share some tips on how to get started?
So basically, when I sit down with them, the big thing is making sure that you have enough content to even start. Because I had been doing it for over, 18 months. And then when everything blew up, I didn't have enough content. And so the big thing is setting up your socials like Instagram and walking them through. Don't post this. Don't, share for share these pages because they have this publicly listed on OnlyFans or whatever, right? How to set all that up, Twitter, those kinds of things. And then I give them a free subscription to my page. I'm like, look at how I write about my videos or what I write about my photos and things like that to just kind of teach them, okay, make it sexy, make it juicy, make it something that someone wants to open, not, just here's a video, no picture, no idea, open it for 20 bucks and tell me what you think. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
kind of teaching them that creativity and how to use their words and draw people in and that kind of thing. And again, about communicating with their people who are writing into them in their DMs, because these are people who like you for whatever reason. Maybe it's
Mhm.
your face, your smile, your teeth, your eyes, your boobs. I don't know. They like you for whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so they're there because they enjoy you. So let them feel that you enjoy having that communication with them, right? So just little things like that that kind of gives that more personal touch versus
Yeah.
just throwing things up and hoping for the best. Because I want to
And
see girls be successful.
yeah, we've all got our own fans, and you can build your fan base. You just
Mm,
sometimes you need that little bit of help, that little bit of guidance, that little bit of direction to say, "Hey, take it this way," and then that's how they can build then their own character and
mhm.
their own branding. But it's good to have someone right at the beginning be like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell you like this is what succeeded for me, so I'm going to
Mhm.
share it with you.
Yes, I always say, if you want to know the wrong way to do it, talk to me because we made every mistake in the book. And so and there's a lot of people who charge for it, and it's like my giving back, right? Like I've been truly blessed doing this, and so it's just a little thing that I can do to kind of give back and keep that going, you know?
Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, oh, this is a service that you provide, like, and I was gonna like thinking, oh, I'll ask the fee. And you just said, no, you just do it. It's like
Mhm.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it's
So
really
it's
kind.
easy. They sign up underneath me for the OnlyFans, like referral, whatever.
So as long
And
as they
then,
use your link,
yeah,
then you will help them.
yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is there anything else that you wanted to bring in today, Bella, that we didn't mention yet?
I think I just want to say that women need to empower other women. And that's the great thing about this whole process and doing what I do. And so I think that anyone can be on OnlyFans and anyone can be successful. I think the most important things are, first of all, self-care. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Make sure
Yeah.
that you have outside relationships outside of the industry and things like that, so you can kind of keep yourself stable. And then just be true to yourself. Don't do anything you don't want to do. Don't, let someone convince you to take photos or videos that you wouldn't normally do. Like, hold your line. Be true to you. Be true to your brand.
Mm.
And man, just have some fun, because this is really fun. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I look back over my whole life and all of the jobs I've had, which I've had several, and by far, hands down, this is the most fun.
Eh,
So just that's really my thing, is anyone can do this. Just don't let anyone drag you down. Don't listen to the negativity, because there will be some, but if this is what you want to get into, have fun with it.
yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. It is fun, and you too can be there starting your OnlyFans account, selling your own sex tapes, whether it's solo, whether
Mhm.
it's with a partner, doing the things that you want to do without being pressured into doing something that is not you.
Correct.
Yeah, I
Because
love
you always can say no. Always, always.
always. You can say no in anything in life, but it's even
Yeah.
more so when it comes to sex because it's a different dynamic. It just feels more pressured when you get asked when it comes to things that have a sexual nature. So just
Mhm.
remember, you're hearing us, two very powerful, supportive women. You can say no to things that you don't want to do.
Absolutely. And I've been very fortunate in this whole transformation into the adult industry. I've worked with some great, producers, directors, talent, and I've never been in a position where I was uncomfortable. I know you hear stories about that. I can't speak to that. And I don't know if it's just because I'm like very upfront. I'm like, here's what I'll do, here's what I won't do. I'm here to have fun. Let's do this thing.
Yeah.
But I want women to know that that's okay to have that position.
Yeah, yeah. It's
You
similar
know.
how I've always been. Like, you know what you get and you know what I'll do, you know what I like. And you've been amazing. I really appreciate you coming on, Lieutenant Bella, Lexi,
Thank
coming to share your
you.
story of transforming into a OnlyFans sensation and supporting other couples, other women. There's a lot of help out there for people, and you are
Yes.
there willing to help them to bring them up and tell everyone where they can find you online.
The best place to find me is going to be on my website. It's therealbellalexi.com. And it has a link to all of my socials, all of my streaming content, everything. That's really going to be the best place. That's also where you'll be able to purchase the book from me when it comes out, or in bookstores anywhere in the United States or in Canada. So it will be in actual bookstores.
Nice.
But like I said, my website's a great resource to find that information. Feel free to reach out to me, or follow my links and message me there. So
Yay. Thank you so much.
yeah,
It's been amazing. I've loved having you on as a guest. And thank you.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This is Tanya Tate, Skinfluencer Success. Visualize